This is just a reminder that there are more ways to grow beyond just doing shadow work. This is something that I hear a lot within the spiritual space because so many people need to do the shadow work. But if you are someone who unflinchingly looks at yourself, like you know all your shadows inside and out. This is especially true for you if you feel like you keep repeating cycles or you're at this point of a breakthrough, but this breakthrough hasn't come yet. This is definitely for you. Is that sometimes doing this shadow work, doing this intense healing, that kind of thing, can become its own repeating cycle, especially if it's like something that you're trying to break out of. If you know that you've examined it from every single angle, then it is time for you to release the cycle with this. I have sacrifice at the back of my deck, which inspired this message, is that we hear all the time that we can level up in the spiritual space and what have you through doing this shadow work, through understanding your shadow. And I say this as someone who loves to play in these darker realms and help people understand themselves and achieve things like through their suffering and how to turn their pain into power, that kind of thing. 111 on my timer. But to sort of break out of this, if you've done all of that, you know you've done all of that, because shadow work can become a bit of its own like addictive thing, is to break into the energy of joy. Is that this isn't discussed enough, again, because I feel like so many people avoid shadow work that we have it sort of, you hear it everywhere, it's kind of shoved down your throats, like shadow work's what you got to do. But if you know yourself inside and out, then joy is sort of like your next spiritual level, or what you are seeking to break into. Is that joy and our higher emotions can teach us just as much and heal us just as much as our lower emotions. Again, I don't hear it talked about as much. I do hear some people talking about it, but it's not as loud or as prevalent as like all of the shadow work stuff. And again, I think it's because so many people avoid those aspects of themselves, which is why it's so prevalent. But if you feel like you've been stuck in a bit of a holding pattern, you're like, I know this blockage that's been sitting in front of me inside and out, it's because you need to sacrifice the blockage, that it's time for you to let the blockage go. That this is what you've sort of like been circling around. This is what's been keeping you in this holding space, is that you've been focusing on this thing in front of you, and it breaking the cycle is to break this healing pattern that you've been in. This is actually something I've been speaking with some of my clients about, is how they feel like they've hit a plateau when it comes to therapy, and that they've like transcended it through art or that kind of thing. Is that having, and again, this isn't to knock therapy, if anything, it's a lot like the shadow work thing, where it's like if you haven't experienced it, it's going to be very helpful for you, but then once it's run its course, you're going to be like, okay, I feel like I've just been in this holding pattern of I'm talking to somebody about my problems, but it's not actually fixing my problems, right? Whereas when you went into therapy, maybe you've never talked to anybody about your problems before, and just like unburdening what's been like locked inside was very healing. And now you're like, okay, I'm at this next level, what do I need to do next to sort of transmute this? Of like, I know what the issue is, I've talked about it, I've identified everything, whereas before you hadn't identified anything, right? That's usually why you go to therapies, to like identify these things, a lot like shadow work, that kind of thing. It's this same thing. It's like your blockages have been identified. Again, if you feel like you're in this holding pattern, this is part of the, like, again, if you feel like you've been waiting for manifestations to drop in or blockages to clear, this is part of that sort of embodying or acting as if, or whatever, all that crap that you hear. It is this, that like embodying the joy. That's how you're going to break out of this cycle, is because this is for those who haven't done any bypassing. Like I've said, again, you know these blockages inside and out. This is the Hanged Man in the traditional deck. So if you feel like you've sort of been hanging, waiting for a new perspective to hit, this is the new perspective. Again, you know your blockages inside and out. Start operating from this place of joy. And for those of you, some of you, this blockage, you're almost keeping this in place because you're afraid. I find that little gap period of when sort of like the ground is falling away beneath you, but you're too afraid to jump because you're jumping into the void, and that's scary, is that you're sort of in that suspension period. For some of you, you don't know what triggers your joy, and that is this expansion. That's what you're being asked to expand into. That's what you're being asked to explore. I've been getting a lot of inner child messages. So for some of you, if this message has been resonating, you are going to be tapping into your inner child through experimentation. This is something I have been tapping into, again, through my artwork, through making art that is bad, right? Whatever. Meaning artwork that I am not trying to monetize or impress anybody with. This is entirely for my joy and recreation. So that may be significant for some of you, is just doing things just for the experimentation aspect of it, because it makes you laugh, or it might make you laugh, or it might make you smile, or whatever. It's just like you just want to see, maybe it's none of that, you just want to see what the outcome will be. Start exploring, start experimenting. That is going to help you tap into pieces of you that have been locked away. So again, you, in order to call in the new, you have to sacrifice the old. And for some of you, this sacrifice is going to be like an addiction to healing through shadow work, or healing through the darkness or lower emotions. Again, we've been seeing this shift happen, this collective shift. I feel like this happens in waves. So again, if this resonates with you, you are leading this sort of charge of joy, of healing through joy and healing through expression and that sort of thing. So this ties into a whole other message that I want to get into, and I'll get into that in a minute. But again, if this resonates with you, let me know. If you want to dig more into this, you can head into my bio. You can book a reading with me. You can book coaching sessions with me, what have you. Check out my guides and all of that, and raffle tickets and stuff.